stream. This is me. I have control. uh, we're
hosting, I think.
Yeah, it's still hosting.
Oh no! Hello?
Yeah.
It said I'm live. I've been live for like
I still
45
see
seconds.
hosting.
Yeah, I still see
Yeah.
hosting.
Are you sure you're not?
Everyone in chat to refresh.
Refresh.
Oh, there we go.
Hello.
Which is just stupid.
Well, yeah, Twitch is like completely
Now I
dumb.
see it.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. I have control of Justice Stream today for Spire. And that's what we're gonna do. I messed up that whole introduction, so welcome to Justice Channel. We're about to play Spire. I hope you're all having a great Saturday morning, afternoon, evening, good night. Yeah. So, Jason. Oh wait, is it me? You want me to do it? I'm supposed to do it, right?
Do you want to
Recap?
go into the recap? Is that what we want to do right
we,
now?
We could.
Everyone to say hi first, or
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh God,
and then
sorry.
to recap.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you. This
We're
is
very
why
prepared, everyone.
I'm so in like fixing brain that I yeah. Let's do introductions.
You know exactly what we're doing.
Well, no, but
Hi, I'm Jess, and I have a cat. This is my channel, but I'm not running the show today. These guys are, and I love them, and they're doing a good job. And thank you, everyone who's here, and everyone who's put up with internet issues and streaming issues and all those things. Me and this cat are just chill AF. And yeah, I'm Kosa, the midwife, and I'm very excited for whatever Spire shenanigans we're gonna get up to today.
Oh, it's me, isn't it? Yes. Hi. I'm Megan. I am playing Imogene, the idol, and I'm very excited. I do not have a cat because neither of mine would let me hold them the way that Jess is holding that cat. So yeah, I'm ready to rock and roll.
I'm Dustin, and I'm playing Torith of the Lost Chapters, a Vermissian sage, who they really don't know who and what and when they are, and they're kind of getting an idea of that now.
yeah, and I'm Nicholas. I usually do art and anxiety, but now I'm going to play Florentine, who is a garbage fire and a gun wielding sort of cultist, not cultist. Yeah.
A gun-wielding garbage fire sounds so dangerous.
You know what that garbage fire needs? A gun.
Yeah,
Garbage Fire has a gun.
someone saw a garbage fire and he was like, you know what would really make that better? Guns.
And I'm Jason. I am the GM for this insane group of people. Yeah, and I think we'll start off with a little recap that I'm going to have, I think, Dusty lead of what happened last time.
Yeah. Oh, how am I gonna do this?
Just
So-
wing it this time around.
Yeah, I think we're just gonna wing it this time around. You see Torith, big white hat. He's sort of leaning over a journal, and the camera sort of like is looking over his shoulder, and it focuses in on as he's writing this. You see him write this in his journal. We've reached the time that I knew was coming. We were called to action, and we found ourselves once again with the people that we've known, the people that we don't know. We were called to retrieve I literally don't remember what we did. I'm
We're
sorry.
getting-
Package.
Yeah,
Yeah, you take the package.
we were called to retrieve a package. Yet during that package retrieval, a sky whale exploded and dropped in our laps the only Drow council member. We're in it now, and we'll see what happens. I'm sorry that I can't remember anything, and I'm sorry.
Sorry, it's not like you were setting up the stream and everything before this.
Yeah. I will do.
Yeah.
I will do better next time.
It's all right. And we have Nicholas with us today, who was not here for the first game, but Florentine, our garbage fire with a gun, had his own mission that he was on. And as we start, Florentine is returning after having gathered some information. He was sent down to Red Row, which is a particularly violent slum area of the Spire, down Spire, where a lot of people are more armed than Drow are generally allowed to be in the city. And that's mostly because there are very little city guard there to stop them. Ministry sent Florentine down there to investigate the death of one of their agents, a secret informant of theirs who is an arms dealer in Red Row, who had mysteriously emerged from their place of business, shambled down the street, covered in many layers of coats, and then exploded outside of the guard post, the solitary guard post in Red Row. The ministry wants to know what happened to their agent and their arms dealer, and sent Florentine to find out. What Florentine did manage to track down was that the goods that this arms dealer, Corinth, had were all taken away, and he found that a sort of traditionalist cult of Alfir that live in Red Row were hired to transport similar sounding goods through the tunnels of the Vermissian up Spire. And shortly after Florentine discovered this information, the whole sky whale explosion happened. And as Florentine was returning back to the cathedral hatchery to report back on what he had learned, he hears news of this tragedy that has happened. Meanwhile, the other three have returned to the hatchery, and they managed to return there before word had really reached this section of the Spire of what had happened. So you're able to secret in the unconscious form of Madame Faye Iranian, the only Drow member of the Council of Spire, into the hatchery before drawing any sort of crowd or suspicion. Immediately, you are able to get her taken care of, get her some medical attention from the midwives who live in the hatchery. But almost as quickly, rumors start to spread. A lot of whispers and a lot of just hushed rumors about who has been brought here to the hatchery and what happened. So, Florentine, you are arriving at the hatchery, which is essentially a series of tunnels underneath the cathedral to the goddess of the full moon. In the tunnels underneath the cathedral are where the midwives in this area of the Spire live and work. And it's also a staging area for the ministry, for the resistance. They have an agreement with the midwives here to use the space too as a secret gathering spot. So you are just arriving into these tunnels, and they are sort of dark, dimly lit. They vary between cramped tunnels that you can barely fit one person in, to widening up to fit sometimes 3 people abreast. But they're all just dimly lit by these ancient and flickering mage lights. And you are coming through the tunnels when you pass by a room, a small alcove, and you notice your 3 companions are sitting in there. And a dog.
Okay, I will stop in my tracks and then turn in and go into that room then, and just knock a little bit on the wall first, because
All right.
they seem a little bit tense, I think.
The scene in here, you can read it on them that things are a little bit tense and confusing. Torith, Imogene, and Cahosa, you see Florentine return and enter the room, and he sort of knocks on the wall. You are all just in this room. You have dropped off Madame Faye Iranian with the midwives who are taking care of her. You actually, Cahosa, you were able to stay and see that they have woven a cocoon web around her. And she's not conscious yet, and they say it could take a little while.
Well, you wouldn't believe the kind of day I've had. Have you been dilly-daddling here long?
Not exactly. We have been up to some excitement of our own. Care to trade stories?
Well, my day is not quite finished. I was actually looking for
Lenora, probably. Lenora is the Magister of your cell.
No.
Oh.
Torith.
Oh, you were looking for Torith.
Yeah. I should probably report in, but I was should also be telling you something. There is a number of Elfirs who are using the Remission tunnels to smuggle stuff.
To what purpose?
Well, I don't know exactly what purpose, but it's nefarious because, Elfir. And they are smuggling quite a lot of gunpowder and similar sorts of goods.
We do not like the idea of them in our home.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking of it. I mean, I thought that was the big reason, and not them, smuggling explosives.
I will let people know.
Torith.
Yes.
Since this is a second session, what is your kind of academic knack this time? You're
right.
You're an obsessive researcher.
Oh, remind me. Knacks are just.
It means you have basically mastery, but with some narrow topic, narrow focus of a certain skill.
I gotta remember that I have this each time. I'm gonna have to make sticky notes for this game too. Gosh, what would be? Yeah, let me think, because I'm trying to think what we'll end up doing today. I think I'm going to be really all up in political knowledge.
Okay.
like after the councilwoman came in, I don't like how do we do that? Like how do we
So I could say that you have a knack in high society, specifically the council.
Okay, yeah. Like I just start like going through like books and notes that I have upon my person.
In your endless pockets.
Yes.
And Torith has ways to find books that, if he doesn't have them on him.
Yes. Hopefully this is better. Yeah, so high society stuff? Okay.
Okay. So, Florentine has just updated you, Torith, on an Elfir cult of some sort, or group at least, that is smuggling gunpowder and similar goods through the Vermissian tunnels. The rest of you still have the issue of that you haven't yet told Florentine about, of who you brought back here.
So I think oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
So as he's telling me about the Vermissian and are we in the same room with the cocoon?
No.
No. Okay. We have had interesting times of our own. It appears. What was the councilwoman's name again?
Madame Faye Iranian.
It seems that Madame Faye Iranian has fallen into our lap, quite literally, from the sky.
And Florentine, you definitely know that name. You worked enough in high society circles.
We were on a retrieval mission, and a sky whale exploded, and her body fell before us. And we brought her here.
Have you questioned her?
She was unconscious when we grabbed her. She's being healed now by the mothers.
So we're healing collaborators now.
Collaborators.
She is on the council.
Yes.
Then she is supporting the governmental structure that opposes us. So
She is trying to do well for the drow. She's all we have here. We owe her enough to at least heal her and send her back on her way.
well, yeah, that's true.
She was once a midwife. The midwives wouldn't leave one of their own to die.
The Spire provides opportunities. Perhaps this is an opportunity to learn more.
I can't help but feel that there is a connection. A skywell shouldn't just explode.
No, it appeared that it was one of the many parties that the Aelfir have, but
The sect I'm tracking down, they are very traditionalist, which means, Ostro should be kept out of everything except the muck. Perhaps they have targeted Madam?
it is possible. No drow on the council would make it easier for them, I suppose.
But we still don't know who else was there. The whole council could have been at the party. We have no idea. We just know she was there. There's so much more we need to learn before we can start making assumptions.
We really just wanted to get out of there. And we just grabbed the drow and ran here. better to be away from a terrorist activity.
Yeah.
And as you're speaking to each other, another figure walks into the alcove where you're all sitting. The only one of you who recognizes this figure is Cahosa. Cahosa, this is Sister Tesa, who is sort of your, I guess, superior in the Order of Midwives. She's a very stern woman, walks like she has a steel rod in her spine.
That's a nice way to put it.
And she sort of strides into the room on these long, just these long steps, and stops before Cahosa. Thank you for bringing Madame Iranian back here. She will have a good while before she's conscious again, before our magic, that the Spider Queen has given us, will have done its work and healed her. But she will recover.
I did what I could at the scene, but it wasn't enough for all her injuries.
What do we know about any of this?
We don't know much. All we know is there were other sky whales there, and it seemed this one was targeted. I didn't see many people fall to a place where they could be recovered. We were lucky to get her. And as I said, it seemed possible she might die on the site. We did what we could to stabilize her there and brought her back here as quickly and quietly as we could, especially if we don't know if she was targeted.
You did well. And Cahosa, you know that is very rare praise from Sister Tesa.
Thank you.
We do, however, have a problem.
More?
The Lajan, who you know are the priests of the full moon goddess who run the cathedral above you, they have caught wind of who we have here, and they are very worried.
Who let that slip?
I do not know, but whispers have been running throughout the hatchery. This is a very hard thing to keep secret. But they're worried. They haven't said anything for now, but our relationship with their cathedral is difficult and strained at times as it is, especially since we started working with the ministry. And now they fear that should the Alfir come, or should the Alfir realize that she is alive and come looking for her, that they will hold us responsible.
What would they have us do?
Their thought is that we should return her up Spire as soon as possible. But so far, we are resisting that until she is healed.
I think we should continue to resist for as long as we can. While I was there, I met a goddess-blessed boy who had been from a higher hatchery, which had been attacked and destroyed.
Yes, we have had a few hatcheries in the Spire that were attacked. The Alfir said whenever that happens that there was some corruption, demonology being used in the hatcheries, and that they had to act.
Utter garbage.
Likely.
They need little excuse to act.
And also coming into the room behind Sister Teza is Lenora, who is your Magister, who runs your cell. She's got the one long braid that is again hanging over her side, over her shoulder, just tied tightly. She leans up against the doorway, or not really a door, but the opening to this alcove, and she says, we're operating in the dark right now. This was certainly not what any of us in the ministry expected. What we do know is that this targeting of Madame Feharanyan was not a ministry action. And she looks over at Florentine. What did you find out?
Aelfir bastards are smuggling gunpowder, ammunition, explosives through the Vermisian.
She pauses when you say that.
It's likely that it's the stocks of Koretz.
It's also entirely possible that could have been used to destroy that sky whale. But we still don't know who might have been behind that. We also don't know yet how much the Alfir know. I mean, they don't have one of their council members right now.
Was she?
They're concealing that or reacting to it in any way.
Do we know that she was the only council member on the Skywell?
We do not. We're going to need you to see if you can find out more about the situation. Either by following up your leads with those smugglers in the Vermisian, or perhaps going up Spire and finding out what the reaction there is.
Both ways leads up Spire, though.
So I guess that's where we're heading.
I leave that up to you, but find out what you can and report back when you have the opportunity. Right now, we're too blind to what is going on, and this took us all by surprise. But there could be danger in this, or there could be opportunity for the ministry.
Magister, what is the ministry's opinion on Madame Faye?
She doesn't work for us. We've never been able to bring her to the side of the revolution. The Alfir have their hooks in her deeply.
So do we know whether she is one of theirs or just ineffective because she is the only drow on council?
We're not certain. We have tried to approach her in the past to work with us, and she has been unwilling. We may have more leverage now. This might be an opportunity we can take advantage of. But we still don't know yet at this point what is happening in the council. Whether they're aware, whether they are assuming she is dead and are moving to replace her.
We don't know if this is a Aelfir against Aelfir, but that could be a opportunity.
Could be. There's a lot we need to learn. And I'm tasking you with finding out what you can, as you've been the most directly involved with this as it develops.
Not by choice.
Anyway, I can't stay, but when you find out more, please let me know.
Of course.
And she turns to Sister Teza and says, Sister, as long as the midwives can keep her here safe, please do so. And if anyone does try to remove her, let me know before they are able to. And Sister Teza just nods at her, and Lenora exits the room. Sister Teza.
I think it would also be nice. This is to, like, I've let the Magister leave the room.
Okay.
And I'm turning and looking at Sister Teza. And I'm trying not to speak out of turn. Because she my boss. And she don't love me. But yeah, I'm just going to say, I think it would also be a good idea to look out for where that information leak may have come from. Because we should be able to keep important things such as this to ourselves and away from the priests above. We don't need them meddling.
I agree. I'll see what I can find out. I'm afraid of these rumors getting farther than just the cathedral.
Yes, it's very important she's kept safe. She's recovering, and in the meantime, we will try and find what information we can.
And even if it does turn out she's not as much on our side as we'd prefer, it would be good to be able to talk to her first, so we could find out her motives and perhaps where she stands.
Agreed. When she awakens, I will let you know.
All right, I suppose that means for now, we're headed up.
Good luck. And Sister Teza turns on her heel and strides out of the room.
Kosa just like does a like she's been holding her breath this whole time for her to leave.
Yeah, you also get the feeling that Sister Teza was easier on you this time just because of everything that is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was uncharacteristically friendly, I guess, or supportive.
I guess I finally did something okay in her eyes. It's not just, oh man. Yeah, so Kosa's like, that was weird. So Florentine, you think this might be related to what you were busy doing while we were in
I think so. I mean, it's quite a big coincidence that they get a hold of so much explosives so close. Jason?
Yes.
Normally, the Aelfir doesn't have much of gunpowder business, or do they?
Not usually. I mean, they do. Some of them do use guns, especially in the military.
Yeah, I also think they might have, dueling pistols and stuff like that, but but not on a wider scale.
Right. I mean, most of the guns come from the humans, and the Aelfir sometimes buy them off the humans, import them from the humans too. But it's seen as a little bit culturally inferior by the Aelfir. They definitely prefer their bows and swords, but they do see the usefulness of guns sometimes.
Also, if it's things stolen from us, then the tracks will lead to us rather than them.
That's true. If anyone else traces back if that gunpowder was behind the Skywhale explosion, anyone traces back, and it's going to lead to that same arms dealer who was a member of the ministry.
So we should probably try to find out who, if anyone else was on that explosion. And that.
Yes, that would be wise. There may be somebody beyond Madame Iranian that was targeted. As much information as we can get about the party before the explosion, the better.
She might not have even been the target. It might have just been a coincidence.
Or if she was the target, if there was someone who suddenly canceled or something, that will be a lead.
Information on the party should be a priority.
I agree. So we should head up to the Silver Quarter and see what we can find out.
Okay, so you can travel up to the Silver Quarter easy enough. It's not too far from where you are, and you did this last time too. You travel up there, and I mean, you guys between your characters have a few angles you could explore. I mean, technically, the Sky Whale that the party was on was outside the Sky Docks, which is one level up from the Silver Quarter. But there are probably people in the Silver Quarter who know all about that party. Silver Quarter is like the party district.
Yeah, that's. Is there like a Sky Whale Parties Unlimited type working?
Can I use my today's knowledge of high society council activities to kind of know where if they hang out in the Silver Quarter, if there's like a particular place where they would have like planned a party?
Yeah, like where do you go to find out about a party on a Sky Whale?
I was gonna say, can we go to a party to find out about a party?
Is there a Sky Whale Enterprise rental something?
Sky Whale
you guys are
Charter.
not renting a Sky Whale.
Well, no, I don't want to rent it, but I just like how do they get a party
I've got
on?
the money. We can get it.
I mean, if we want the Sky Whale, I mean, we will goddamn steal one.
Commandeer.
I mean, I'm not ruling that out, but
Reappropriate.
what I will say is that without any sort of role, you guys know right off the bat that parties on Sky Whales are not very common, even among the Alfir. I mean, they have their parties often, but actually partying on a Sky Whale is kind of a special affair. Those of you who were there,
Yeah.
saw all the special rigging that was set up on that particular Sky Whale, because they're not usually used for social gatherings. They're usually used for hauling goods. There was all sorts of extra decking and everything built onto this one to allow people to kind of have a party and gather on it.
Yeah. What were they called? The little thieving people.
The Airlarks?
The Airlarks commented on that it was like
Weird.
Yeah, that it was unusual. Like great, now they're doing this too. Like those freaking Alfir. Like, what don't they ruin?
Is there some kind of roll or something I can do? Like, would I have heard anything about this party being?
So give me a investigation and high society roll.
Okay.
So I don't know if you have investigation,
I
but
do not. I do have high society though.
so you have 2d10.
A 7 and a 9.
Oh, so a 9 is I believe a 9 is a success with no stress. So yes, you were able. You didn't like know off the top of your head anything about this, but you ask around a little bit. You guys get to the Silver Quarter, and Imogen just sort of takes charge. This is her natural habitat this quarter, and starts to lead you around a little bit. She's stopping by various places, private clubs in the Silver Quarter, and asking the people at the door, the bouncers and everything, who you've interacted with many occasions in the past, Imogen. Just asking around about, talking about that whole sky whale explosion, which is on the minds of a lot of people here, and asking about the whole party that was being held there. Who was involved? How did they set up the sky whale?
Why wasn't I invited?
Exactly. What you are able to learn is that it was definitely like a special setup to get that done, and that it was arranged by Madame Feyranian's, her entourage had set that up. She was entertaining a number of Alfir on that sky whale. There were no other council members who were at that party. It was a party that she was throwing to make some new contacts and pitch new ideas to get support among influential Alfir who themselves are not on the council. You do also hear that nobody reported any sort of survivors from that. That all who were on the sky whale are believed dead. But you also hear that the council has been basically on a sort of quiet, secure lockdown, and that little word is getting out of anything. You also learn that a number of clubs, probably about half dozen clubs in the Silver Quarter, supplied that party in various ways, providing entertainment or just beautiful people to attend, to sit there and look pretty and socialize.
So once again, why wasn't Imogen invited?
That's a good question, and no one can seem to answer that you ask why you aren't invited.
On the other hand, I think it's a quite weird question to ask, because why was I not invited in the exploding where that everyone died of? Why?
Very offended that I was not there for the exploding party.
Well, the party looked like it was a blast, so.
I gotta go.
I have that effect on people.
Weird that the council is on lockdown. It is.
I mean, it's definitely unusual to you, Florentine, when you hear about it. I mean, there isn't a lot of traffic that's allowed in that area anyway. But, I mean, Amaranth, which is where the council is located, is probably the most secure part of the entire Spire. But they have apparently gone silent, and that is a little bit unusual.
Yeah. I need to go and ask some people.
Some people what?
I need to ask some pointed questions to people closer to the council. Because this lockdown does... Why? They are already pretty fucking secure.
Shouldn't we try to gather more information here before we go up further up Spire? Shouldn't we see what we could find here?
Yeah, we need to do this later. I might be able to find someone down here as well, because this is... It's hinky business.
I agree. Do I know if did my club do any party supplying?
They did not. Your club was not involved, was one of the ones that was not involved in this. But you do also know that your well, I guess friend who was also in the gallery with you, who you kept in touch with, does also work in Amaranth.
Yep. Those are things.
Lives here in the Silver Quarter too.
I may know someone in Amaranth who may have answers, but that's entirely up to all of you what we do next. I'd prefer to stay down here for a little longer if we can, but...
Yeah.
We are not comfortable moving up Spire that much, but... we will do what we must. But I feel we should also ask the entourage of the madam as to what connections she was hoping to bring from that party.
Hopefully not all of them was on the Sky Whale.
I'm sure there are... We are sure that there are less important document keepers that stay behind.
She surely can't travel with her entire retinue. There has to be people left.
There is always clerks. Information can always be found.
Did she have like an office, or would that be up in Amaranth
Is
too?
that the Amaranth?
So, yes, she has an office in the council chambers, which are in Amaranth. She also has a home, which is also in Amaranth. One of the very few drow who are allowed to live there.
Ugh.
We're gonna have to go to Amaranth. Yay! Are we heading up Spire then?
Is there anything else down here we need to check? Have we used up all our leads?
I've exhausted what I have. I don't know if anybody else has anywhere to ask.
I deal more in the shadows, so I don't know what what connections Torith would have in a Silver Quarter.
Florentine probably does, but Niklas is drawing a little bit of a blank today.
There are shadows everywhere.
Is there anywhere in the Silver Quarter where they would have had... The hole is the only, like where the airlarks are, that's the only place that would have looked out and would have visibly seen it, right? Everyone else would have just heard about it. No one would have seen it.
Correct, because there are windows in the Silver Quarter that look out. I mean, the Silver Quarter is not generally well lit from natural lighting. Because the drow don't like it, but also just because it's got a very party nightlife atmosphere. So they keep it dark and artificially illuminated as much as possible. Plus, it actually, the Sky Whale was a level above the Silver Quarter. So not many people saw the explosion take place here.
So the best vantage point for the Sky Whale, if you want to see it, is in Amaranth.
No, the best one level up from here, and one level down from Amaranth, where the sky docks are, is where that Sky Whale was actually hovering off of.
Yeah,
I mean, we could check out the Sky Docks.
Yeah, Florentine will probably see if he can find someone who can give information about the best vantage point. Because if you want to have something to explode, you might probably want to make sure it happens.
Okay. Give me a... I'm going to say that is an investigation crime check.
Shit.
So you start out with 1d10, and if you have investigation, you have 2d10. If you have crime, you have 3d10.
I have investigation. I do not have crime. But it's order, though, because it's disorder. And okay, no.
No.
An 8 and a 7.
Okay, so that is a success. I should have brought up my little cheat sheet now. Okay, yeah, that's a non-stress success. So you rolled well. You know that what you learned, so you ask around a little bit. You find, and it's not terribly hard to find, some shady people in the Silver Quarter, of very questionable morals, who are comfortable after you buy them a few drinks with sharing some information with you. And you learn that probably the best place to see all that happen from would have been from the sky docks themselves. And they tell you that on one side of the sky docks, basically the sky docks are laid out as they apply. They stick out from the side of the spire as like a set of docks. On one end of them, there are a setup full of ballista that are very rarely used. You've actually never seen them used in your lifetime. But they're supposedly there for security if there was any sort of threat to the sky docks themselves. On the other side, there is a like a large shelving structure that is used by the messengers and delivery boys who ride on the large corvids, the ravens and crows. So basically, they're these shelves, and they're just full of birds. They're like a giant rookery. And that would probably be the best place to see everything happen from.
And yeah, I want the good vantage point, not for not something touristy. I want some where you're not spotted yourself. You think you know what that might be?
They said if you definitely didn't want to be seen, you could watch from New Heaven, which is at the very top of the spire.
Yeah. And the explosion happened in sunlight, right?
It was like dusk.
Okay.
Going to the sky docks might not be the worst idea. We could probably talk to some of the workers and see if they noticed anything out of place.
It sure beats going up the entire top of the spire.
We will not do that.
No, we will not.
We will go. We will go to the sky docks, no matter what the rest of you decide. But we are not going to the top of the spire.
Torith, surely there has to be one aspect of you that would be willing to go to the top of the spire.
Let us confer.
Yes,
No.
but they are not here.
We have not seen ourselves ever in the top of the spire. And if we have, that has been shrouded from us. Jason,
Mm-hmm.
would I know any Vermissian access to the sky docks?
Yes, you would. You don't even need a roll for this because you have a general sense of the layout of the Vermissian. I mean, the tunnels themselves actually break any known geometry or geography, but you do know where the stations were originally built before everything fell apart, and those are still access points where you can get to the Vermissian. And there is one right by the Skydocks Market Station, which comes out into a large marketplace used where the sky whales will offload their goods and put them right on market. So there is a station right there. There are 2 other stations located on that level, and you're actually familiar with one of them pretty well because when you were serving your endurance and doing your occult research at the inverted telescope, there is a station near that.
A thing I don't know about myself. Hang on.
So I guess background for everybody. There is on the same level as the Sky Docks. There is the I think it's called the College of Divine Magic. College of Divine Magic, and that is a Alfear-run university into the occult. Yes, and Jess has a map. And originally, the Alfear had built a telescope, a magical telescope, on this level that they looked towards the heavens, and they would. I mean, the Alfear are big into astrology, among other things. They use the stars to predict the future. But there are a lot of interesting things to study in the sky above Spire. But somewhere, fairly recently, influential occult Alfear had somehow convinced the rest of the College of Divine Magic to invert the telescope and point it down towards the heart underneath the spire, which is like the dark, corrupted.
The heart is crazy.
Yeah, the heart is just a dark, chaotic place far underneath the spire. So now it's called the inverted telescope, and it can be used to look down into the heart of Spire. Torith served his durance there, basically using the inverted telescope to observe things that the Alfear didn't want to risk observing themselves because it could possibly drive you insane. So they had Torith do it, as well as take notes and study the things that he saw.
And it only broke us a little bit.
But right near the inverted telescope is another Vermissian station called Upper Tintagel. And that is actually a two-level station. It runs through two levels of the spire. The lower level is here in the Silver Quarter, in the very center of the Silver Quarter. It's kind of like a grand central station of Upper Spire. If the Vermissian hadn't fallen apart into a
because no one uses these stations.
No, not really.
For
not
travel,
efficiently, at least.
because there's no other than the train that never stops. Nothing travels through the Vermissian as a public transit. It's all shady.
Correct.
And so after Torith hears what Florentine had told them, I think Torith wants to sort of investigate the stations near the Sky Docks for sure. Okay.
And I believe Torith, you can find a door to the Vermissian pretty much anywhere, right?
The vault. I don't know about.
That would get you to the Vermissian. You could get to the Vermissian from there. I mean, the vault is an area of the Vermissian.
Yeah.
The Sage's Court sort of hollowed out and used for storing information.
Yeah, it's our secret where we store all the stuffs.
Yeah, so you could use your backdoor ability, and you could find a way into the tunnels.
From that station? Or from, yeah.
But the issue is that
no
tunnels are a little bit mind warping, and while you're used to it, the others would not be. Yeah,
it's probably not the best to do on a general thing. Emergencies, maybe, but Torith knows that if they were to drag their friends through, it might not be a fun time for them.
Thanks for the concern.
Well, he doesn't want to see they don't want to see their friends.
Driven insane.
Yeah, basically.
Broken.
We've seen that timeline, and it's not fun.
We're not all mad here?
I guess there are different levels. There's a different degrees.
Okay, so the depth of that phrase, we're all mad here, to Torith, applies to just themselves also? They don't see all the Toriths.
Feel this.
Like, that's said in unison in their mind, is we're all mad here.
Just like 100 different voices in his head. Repeated that.
Stare at the heart for so long, and whoo boy.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, if you guys want to go up to the Skydocks, you can take a normal short trip up to the Skydock level from here.
Yeah, let's do that versus the mind melting secret tunnels.
So actually, the easiest way up to the Skydocks from where you are is to go through the station, which is not really abandoned on this level. The Tentagel station, it's a 2-level station that has been converted into other use since the Vermisian no longer runs. Basically, it is on this level, the Silver Quarter, there are clubs built into it. Imogene, you know there are sort of roving parties. It's almost like warehouse raves. The people that will rent out sections of this level of the station and hold like impromptu parties there that will then vanish by the next day, only to reappear under some different theme and different name later on. But there is basically a number of large stairwells that run through this lower level of the station up to the level that's on the Skydock level. And when you get up to the Skydock level of the station, it has been converted into a combination of warehouse space, where a lot of goods are stored temporarily, and also some storefronts that are here. You suspect that probably some people who store their goods in this station also probably use the Vermisian tunnels to smuggle them to different areas of the Spire.
Do the shops have like glow sticks and pacifiers?
No.
Strike that one. So does the train run through, or do you just use this as a tunnel to get
They're
to
just-
the next spot?
They're usually just tunnels.
Yeah,
Like,
because the train...
You guys didn't go through the tunnels. You just went through the station, which is, it's just basically like a large train station that runs through 2 levels of the Spire.
So we're not walking on like the empty track.
Correct.
We're like going up the stairs as if you were going to a different part of the train.
Yep. I'm trying to remember the name of the big train station in Toronto that I went to, but
Union Station!
Yes.
Woo!
so it's like that.
It's the hub of all the trains.
Yep.
Yep.
So you're not going out on the tracks. You're just in that station.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's what I thought.
And it's just the upper part of the station is a lot of warehouse space and stores. The lower part of this station has been converted into a lot of temporary clubs and party spaces. But you reach the upper level. You're in the Skydock level technically now.
So when we come like out of the station, is it just like all docks? Like if we wanted to like find like dock workers to talk to or something, would we just like walk out and you're like, oh, here are the docks?
No, the docks are a little bit of a walk from here. And there's another Vermisian station closer to the docks themselves. That's that market station, which that station has been converted into just market space now. But it's not far from here. Actually, between this station and the Skydocks themselves is a Alfear residential neighborhood of sorts.
I have another question. So this first station is the more shady one?
Yeah, I guess it would be more shady than the other one.
Yeah, if it's a market and the other one, this is probably where you wanted to exit if you are, we'll say, smuggling something.
Correct.
So Florentine will look around and see if he can find some people who looks like they are working.
Okay.
And by working, I mean probably being in the crime thing again. God damn it!
Yeah. So give me another investigation crime roll.
Oh. My dice is back on form. That's a 5.
Oh no.
So a 5 is a failure and is stress.
Yeah.
But fortunately, you weren't doing something especially risky here, so it's not a lot of stress. But let's see. Okay, so you are looking around for someone who stands out as being involved in smuggling, or would at least be able to provide you with some information, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You ask around, and you're trying to be subtle about it, but everybody you ask just walks away from you or closes up shop. Some people very obviously just like take their goods and box them up as soon as you mention smuggling, and they announce that they're closed.
I don't think I would ask about smuggling per se. I would more strange people that don't belong, which also probably be
Same effect. They all seem very nervous about your questions.
And so do I take any stress?
I took care of it, so
okay. So I don't know how much stress I have. God damn it!
Nope.
This is gonna be fun.
If it starts to build up, I will definitely give you hints, but
yeah, that's fine.
Jason has an app for that.
Yes.
To torture us with.
But yeah, you're not able to find anything particularly useful, except that people don't like your questions.
Yeah, and I will roll my eyes, which no one will see, because I have the owl mask on.
Oh, yeah.
It probably blinks, though, because that's unsettling.
I like
mask
that.
Or your eyes?
Yeah, the eyes of the mask blinks, but sideways.
Oh.
That's horribly
love-
unsettling.
I love that.
Oh no, I hate that.
So now you're not really sure if the people were unnerved by your questions or by your mask. And it's weird blinking.
Bit of column A, bit of column B.
Yeah, and I probably realized this, so Florentine will take off the mask and put on the servant mask instead, because it's less problematic.
What does the servant mask look like?
It's have holes for the eyes, and then it's more like a cloth that hangs down so you can see his mouth. So you can see a bit on most of his skin is dark gray, but he has splashes of white.
Yeah, that's totally not unsettling.
Very approachable.
I
Yeah,
want to go over and make friends with this
Yeah, but
guy and nothing else.
I will say that since you are now on the Skydock level,
it also has a sort of a mark at the forehead that is from the house he used to serve.
and masks themselves are not that uncommon on this level. There are more Alfheir here than most of the Spire, and they all wear masks, and even their drow servants will wear masks. So you see plenty of masked people walking among the crowds on this level.
Yeah, Imogene's probably wearing a mask as well. Once they made it back up to the Silver Quarter.
Torith has their scarf sort of like wrapped up around their face. Just 'cause they don't feel comfortable up and around.
I was gonna say, doesn't Toreth have his face wrapped too? So like, is
Yeah.
Kosa the only one with a face right now? The literal face of the party, apparently.
Yeah, but
We have a half mask. Oh.
Kosa probably is making a bit of a statement too by deliberately being unmasked, since it's not a drow thing. Yes, you're here on the Skydocks level now, and Florentine's attempt to try to find out some information about strange characters and any odd people smuggling things through here has just gotten a big old community silence.
they ghosted me.
It is a thing that happens.
But especially when so many people just died here. There's probably lots of ghosts.
We think we are going to check with the dock master.
That is probably a far better solution than I had.
Toreth is going to work his way to the dock. The central office for the docks?
Yeah.
There are offices, yeah. So you can go there. So you move across this level towards the docks themselves. It is midday now. So Kahosa, you especially don't have a mask on or anything like that. There is sunlight streaming in from where the docks are. Yeah. There are, however, the drow have set up numerous kind of awnings and shaded areas where the drow mostly hang out during the day when they have to work on the skydocks. So you see mostly in the sunlight working directly on the docks themselves, a large amount of humans, some Alfir, and you also see drow that are just totally wrapped up in, they're wearing robes, they're wrapped up in cloth, working directly on the docks during the day.
Kosa's wearing, like, she's almost always wearing her ceremonial robes. It's kind of like the thing. I identifies her as a midwife and stuff like that. I like to imagine that she has some level of wrapping that looks almost like white webbing.
Ooh.
Like that looks kind of like
a veil, kind of.
Yeah, so I think she would sort of pull out and like put on this web veil. To not be completely
good.
to not be
I like
completely in the sun. So
Aesthetics.
So yeah, you probably just do that as you're walking closer to the docks.
Yeah.
But yeah, you spot a building which is like the main offices, which is just before the docks themselves.
Toreth is going to go in there. And so Toreth has that new fashion, that neck scarf thing that just like can be pulled up, and he has like sun goggles, but then he has like Monty Python Spanish Inquisition, like big red like it's a wide brimmed hat to like do the shade and stuff like that, but it's more, I don't know, I'm still trying to figure out what it looks like, but it's sort of fedora-ish, but like big and broad. It's just a really cool looking like big broad hat. But he's gonna walk, or they're gonna walk up to the office to ask some questions, I think.
Okay. There are some guards posted outside the office, but they do not stop you. There's usually just traffic going in and out of this office anyway. You walk inside, and there's a large lobby room with various desks and lines of people who are lined up, and then doors that lead into other parts of the building. But this is sort of like the main directory area.
Okay. So we're gonna look for someone that might be able to help us, I guess.
Okay. What are you gonna try to find out?
So I think what we're gonna ask is, we're gonna basically pretend that we're looking, that we lost, like we're working for our master or whatever. and we're looking for a package that was supposed to be delivered that might have been lost during the hubbub yesterday. But I would just want access to, like, maybe we're gonna try and get some information from, like, the dock logs or something like that somehow. Or I think the goal is to get a look at a manifest and try and see if there's any sort of hinky stuff that showed up in the activity logs, I think is what the idea is.
And are you going to try, is this going to be looking particularly at the whole party whale, or?
Not necessarily focusing on the party whale, but like the activities like around the party whale. Like maybe something went through. I think that's his goal, is to look at the activity around and maybe some like peripheral access to the party whale to try and figure out if there's anything that looks weird.
Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna say that that is a compel plus commerce roll.
Oh, that's an interesting.
Because you're not really investigating. You are trying to talk. You're basically trying to talk to these employees to get them to give you some information.
No. I mean, I have compel, but I do not have commerce. I should have obsessively researched about commerce instead. Okay. So what is that?
So if you have compel, that'd be 2d10.
Okay.
And then higher result.
I do have compel. 7 and a 4.
Okay. So you succeed, but you do take stress. So I'm gonna go note that. Okay. So you approach this employee who's stationed at the desk. Basically, you have to wait online like everybody else. So you're waiting for a little while, and various people approach this desk, ask questions, get things worked out. Some of them are handing over money. Finally, it comes to you, and there's this hunched over drow office worker, essentially like a civil servant, who looks particularly tired and impatient and doesn't want to be there. And so they say, "Yes, you're next."
Greetings.
Yeah, what do you want?
I was wondering, my master is looking for information on a package that was supposed to have been delivered in the docks yesterday, but it apparently has gone missing, and I am to understand that we are to understand that there was some sort of ruckus last night. I was wondering if we could have access to the logs to track down this package.
Yeah, there's been a little bit of a ruckus here.
It is imperative that my master gets, or at least finds, what became of the items he is looking for.
Well, what kind of information can you give me? There's a lot of packages that flow through here, the docks.
Oh, crap. I didn't think this through. He did not provide me with particular information, but it was supposed to be delivered last night from a sky whale. It was I'm just not sure exactly.
So you want me to hand over the logs of sky whale offloading and onloading for the past day for you to browse through?
Can I get a sense for what this guy really, really wants right now?
Yeah. So as you're talking to me, and he's kind of peppering you with skeptical questions of When you just want to see the books in general, you get the definite sense that he's sort of asking for a bribe.
Okay.
Like he's looking over the things that you have on you, which are mostly strange oddities, but some of them have value. And he just sort of looks at them, looks over at the log books, and
I'm gonna pull out a small little. I have like a. Well, no. What's on his desk?
basically just general. I mean, the log books are there. He's got a notebook in front of him.
Does he have a drawer? Is there a drawer?
Yes, there are multiple drawers in front of him.
Then I'm going to tell him. I'm sure something could be arranged. We would not want to cause you any strife or trouble, but if you could open that drawer, and I'm going to use dead drop. And he's going to open that drawer and find a really nice bottle of liquor.
Ooh.
So he looks at you a little bit skeptically at first and opens the drawer, and then he sees this really fine bottle there. Yeah, I think we can work with this. And he turns back, grabs a couple of log books off of a back shelf, and slams them down in front of you.
We appreciate your hospitality.
Just you have to check them here, and don't take too long because there's a line.
We are very good at reading. And we're just going to start flipping through.
Okay. You flip through, and you see like the logs related to that particular sky whale. And you do see that there were a number of items that were loaded onto it before the party began.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly, there's a lot of food, a lot of fancy dishware was logged. But there are a number of packages that were in the logbook. They just say mislabeled, and they have like question mark next to it. That were loaded onto the sky whale, but that doesn't seem to be an accounting of what they are. But there is a name written next to it.
Excellent. Torith is in one side he's flipping through, and on the other they've brought out the their own journal, and they're like literally it's like the the old copy machines where it's like he's like looking over and like writing almost identical handwriting and everything to the log. He's just like, and so he makes note of that name.
Okay, the name is Rylex, and I'll drop that in the chat.
Rylex.
That name is written next to those mislabeled boxes, and there's like a note scribbled in the margins to find out what this stuff was, but that seems to be overlooked at this point.
So, but Rylex was the name that like had delivered these?
Seems to be responsible for them.
Okay. Then we have what we require. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Please enjoy the spoils of helping a fellow drow. And we put our brim down and we just walk away.
Okay. And I think we're going to take a break there. That's a good stopping point. Jess just got back. Jess, we're going to take a 10-minute break. All right, so everyone, we will see you soon.
I don't have a break screen.
Making break screen really, really fast.
I didn't think of that, but
Are
we away?
Are we good?
Yes.
I have to figure out how to do that other thing.
be coming back.
We're back.
All right, yay, we're back. All right. So you now have a name, Rylex, tied to the mysterious mislabeled packages that were boarded onto the fancy party skywhale that exploded.
What kind of the name Rylex, is that a drow or is it a more of a elfir?
It's more of a drow name. Just if you had to guess.
So I guess Torith comes back and shows the copy of the log. Mentions that there were some boxes that were mislabeled, and they seem to have come from a Rylex.
Mislabeled.
They were marked as to be checked upon later, but I do not think that they were, as there was an explosion. But the dock master, or the dock workers, did notice that they were strange packages.
Not to make assumptions, but it's possible that could be what caused our explosion.
It definitely is an anomaly. Everything else in the logs was meticulous.
Do you think it's possible that the dockmaster was hiding something then? If the rest of the logs were meticulous and these one batch of packages were labeled incorrectly?
If they were hiding something, they would probably have removed the entry completely. I don't think the dock masters are involved.
It could have been that
Would have
they
been
were...
easier, but
It could have been they were marked for investigation and just they were unable to get to it before the incident. Either way, the name Rylex is something we can... I may be able to find more information.
It's certainly more than we had before, so it's something. Is it a name you're familiar with?
It is a name we could become familiar with. If you would permit me, if you would permit us the moment to become familiar with it.
That's unclear, but most things that Torith says are unclear.
Familiarize away, darling.
Yes, please do.
Then I will walk over to a strange door and backdoor my way into the vault.
Okay, so tell me what kind of door you find to the vault here near the sky docks.
Okay, so I think Torith walks over to a crate. Like a stack of crates, maybe? And sort of like pushes a couple out of the way, and there's one strange looking crate there. And they pop open the lid, and it's a back door to the vault.
So yeah, I'll say that Torith moves a few of these crates aside. You just see Torith walk over to this pile of crates like he knows exactly what he's doing. Moves a few of them aside. There's one crate there that looks like it's been there for ages, which is odd because the amount of goods that travel through the sky docks, there shouldn't be just a crate that's been here for a long time. But this one looks old. It's wooden, but the wood is starting to rot and is discolored. But he lifts up the lid on it, and when you look inside, there is a ladder that goes beneath the street inside the crate. Which is definitely strange, but makes sense to Torith.
We have found access. If you would permit me to go, we shall return. Otherwise, if you were to follow, it would be uncomfortable.
You do find such curious things. Yes, we'll just stay here and guard your box for you, I suppose.
Once again, I'm not dressed appropriately to be going up and down ladders, so I am also content to wait for you.
I am currently not going down there again.
All right. So, Torith, you're going into the vault on your own.
Going into the vault!
There are different areas in the vault, but the space that you go into is not as special as some of the regions. This is, you drop into this, you go down the ladder and drop into this space that is unusually open. Like, it shouldn't geometrically be possible to have this large of a ceiling above you that you drop down into. But it's sort of a large curved ceiling room with stacks of books in bookcases lining the entire room. Some of them look particularly ancient, and some of them look remarkably new and barely touched. And there are tables there and chairs.
Shall we get to work? Yes. Yes, we shall. Rylex is the name we are looking for. Perhaps we should start with birth records. Birth records, perhaps, yes. And we're gonna wander to the stacks and like.
You immediately you just instinctively know where the records you're looking for are here.
Mm-hmm.
You just reach out, and the book that your hand lands on is, birth records, and it has like a set of dates, like years, and start flipping through that. And give me a roll, 3d10 roll.
3d10. That's a good number. If I could find a third d10. Okay, there we go. 5, 7, and 9.
All right, so a 9 is a success without stress. So you flip through and you do learn. What kind of information are you looking for about Rylex?
I think we're looking for a basic biography, or if we could find just who and where, not necessarily deep information, but where we could find a Rylex.
Okay. So what you do learn about them is that Rylex is an Azurite.
Okay.
Basically, they're a class of drow merchants who follow a god, Azure, who is the god of wealth and commerce. And all of his followers dress in blue. And there's a whole section down towards the base of the spire called the Blue Docks, which is where a lot of trade is run by the Azurites. But the Azurites can be found just throughout the spire. But they are highly involved in all sorts of trade and businesses. And he is a member of them. You do also find record that he has run afoul of the city guard on numerous occasions. Nothing that's ever stuck for too long. But he is known to the city guard as someone who has dealt in contraband, has been caught selling things that he's not supposed to have before, but somehow he always wriggles out of it on some kind of technicality, or perhaps he pays people off, one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
But he's never landed himself in prison yet. He's just gotten on the radar of the city guard a number of times. And it also gives his location as an office in the Skydocks level, close to the what's called the Noon Circle, which is there are numerous plazas in the Skydocks level named after different sort of times of the day. And the Noon Circle is a market where the sun just will, at noon, will just come straight down that street and shine there. But because of that, it's heavily covered with all of these tarps that the drow have put up so that they can operate during the day there. And he has a place of business that's registered as being located there.
It seems we've found what we've looking for. We knew we would. The vault provides. Perhaps it is time to leave then. Yes, let us leave. Our companions will enjoy this information, we think.
And the rest of you, have you just been like people watching up by this Skydocks while Torth vanished into the gloom of inside this crate?
No. Florentine have been taking out the bullet and has been with a small needle, make markings on it. So mark that one mind stress for me.
Okay.
Intriguing. Okay, we will come back up the ladder. Oh. Hello. You're all here.
Yeah. Should we have left without you?
We said we would wait. Did you find any information?
We were finding information, yes. Hang on. We have found information on Rylex. The Noon Circle is where we should go. He has offices there. He's an Azurite.
You certainly did find information.
He is known to the city guard, and he's engaged in troubling circumstances now and again, but nothing ever sticks.
All right, I'd say it's probably a good time to give him a visit.
This way.
So you're leading the group to the Noon Circle?
Yes.
All right. You reach there. It's not terribly far from the docks themselves. And it is sort of the daytime right now. So there is a lot of light streaming down this main avenue that goes to Noon Circle. You are sticking to the shade as much as possible and to sort of the side alleyways and awnings to stay out of the sun. And when you reach the Noon Circle, you can see these massive dark tarps that hang over the whole circle. And right now they're casting these long shadows from the sun streaming in. And underneath these large awnings are there are various shop stalls. There are actually small buildings under here, some of them multi-story buildings, just sort of all cobbled together, containing offices and businesses and shops. It takes Torith a moment to sort of figure out the numbering system used by the shops here from the address that you were able to glean. But you do figure it out, and it leads you to a 3-story wooden building underneath one of the awnings. And
I don't even think that Torith was going by a whole different address system that they were remembering from a different, the buildings were a mirror image, like everything was built on like other sides. I was expecting it to be on the left, and then it shows up on the right. Just because
You eventually find it. You find the building at least, and it seems to indicate that Rylex's office is on the top floor, the third floor.
I have a bit of an idea. If we believe that this person is as important as we may think he is, if you give me just a moment, I might be able to do something that might make him more amenable to giving us the information we need. And I'm going to use glamour.
Okay.
Which I pick an NPC, and I'm going to pick Rylex, so I can change my appearance to resemble their ideal partner.
Yep. And you don't necessarily need to know what that is. It just
it just happens based on like what they want. Yeah.
These abilities are so good.
Using a cocktail of charm, practice, poised, and semi-legal black magic.
Yeah, so I'm going to say basically the rest of you are sort of watching as Imogene just starts to change up her whole look in front of you. She's changing her hair, she's applying makeup, and as she's doing this, the effects that you're seeing are not, they don't make any normal sense. Basically, there's much more of a transformation taking place than should be possible just from applying lipstick or changing her hair. She actually appears a little bit taller now, and her hair is almost seems to be cut differently. It's short and a sharp cut, and she is even her clothing has changed, and you're not even sure how that happened. But now she's wearing just a very well cut, well tailored, almost like a business suit. She looks highly professional.
A drow power suit.
Yep.
Imogene has not worn pants in easily 5 to 6 years.
God, that's the dream.
I like to think that Torith said that also.
Well, this is a new look for you, but I do like it.
Oh, I don't really, kind of does it on its own, but this hopefully will help, so we should go pay this Rylex a visit.
All right. So you go into the building. Nobody stops you from entering the building. There's a sort of a main foyer area. And there are different offices on the first floor, but there's also a stairwell that goes up the floors. As you're going up, you reach the third floor. It comes to a landing. And there are a handful of offices located on this third floor. And Torith knows which one he's looking for. But the door is slightly ajar.
Mm-hmm. I'll go first and just kind of like walk over. I'm gonna like stop short of like facing the doorway and see if I can like hear anything before I'm gonna like, if I don't hear anything, I'm gonna knock on the slightly ajar door.
Okay. If I remember correctly, nobody in this group is skilled at sneak, right?
No.
No.
Can I do a thing?
Possibly.
Just before Imogene goes in, Kosa would put her hand on her shoulder and say, just 1 second before you go in there. And then kind of like flex out her fingers and a bunch of spider webs just go everywhere. And I was going to use my Web of the Mistress, which allows me to immediately be aware of like everything in the vicinity, so I should be able to know like who's in there and like how, like basically how many people are in there
that's so
and
cool.
like yeah.
It's like echo web location.
It is. So first, roll a fix plus occult
Yeah.
check.
Okay. So
I think you have both of those. So
I
it's
have both of those, so I can roll 3, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So and basically this lasts for as long as I stay still. So I just stay perfectly still in this spot, and I'm just kind of analyzing. I can do it as large as the area of a building, but I just want the room mostly, or maybe
but
like
you will have basically knowledge of the building, but you can focus on a certain area.
Oh my goodness! Hi. I rolled a 1, a 7, and a 6.
All right, so you do take stress, but you do succeed.
That's fine.
Let's see.
Whiny baby.
Just as a new friend.
Yeah.
Okay. So as you're standing there, you rest your hand on Imogene's shoulder, and basically without any further action from you, numerous sort of faintly glowing spider webs just spread out from Cahosa's body and latch themselves onto all the walls around you and the stairs. And Cahosa, you have a understanding, a sense of everything happening in this entire building. Even things that are normally outside your range of hearing or sight. You basically can feel all the people moving in the different offices below you, but you focus on that one room with the door ajar. There are 3 people inside. There's one person who appears to be sitting behind a desk, and 2 people who are in front of the desk.
I will like very creepily whisper this to Imogene. Please note it is very creepy. Like
Please note, extra creepy.
Extra creepy, like almost like I would say like her face kind of darkens and she's kind of like doing that like eyes half closed fluttering like.
And also, since you actually put your hand on Imogene's shoulders, it is perhaps more like, leaning.
Yeah, I'm like leaning it. I think like for anyone else, this would be terrifying. Like, I don't know how Imogene feels, but I think Kosa has done stuff like this with her before.
Yeah, I feel like Imogene on her, like, she's not unflappable, but it's not a lot to like actually get a reaction from her. So she's probably just like, yeah, this is fine. Just normal stuff, I guess.
Normal stuff that your Spider Mom friend does.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
What do you whisper in Imogene's ear?
He's not alone. I believe he's at his desk, but there are 2 others with him.
All right. I'll be careful. You all be here, right behind me. I'll just see if perhaps I can get anything from them without any larger issue. Hopefully. Yeah. So yeah, I'll just walk up to the door and I'll like listen briefly to see if I can like overhear anything.
Okay. And Kosa, you still haven't moved yet, so you still have this up, right?
Yeah, I'm staying still. I am paying attention. I'm like feeling my webs for the first sign of a problem. And then if I have to bamf in there, if I have to spider shadow step, then I will do such.
Yeah. Cahosa, you sense the two people who are in front of the desk are becoming increasingly agitated. They're moving. They're speaking with their hands very rapidly, and they sort of have taken like a threatening posture over the desk. But you can't hear their words. You're just aware of their movements and everything.
Okay. So I'm assuming that maybe Imogene like got the first message, started to take a step forward, and then I felt this, and I communicate that a little less whispery since I'm no longer directly in her ear.
Okay.
Imogene, as you approach the door, you can hear two voices. You can't make out exactly what they're saying, but they sound angry.
Okay. Yeah, if I can't hear anything, I'm just gonna reach up and do like a somewhat gentle knock, like back of the knuckles, like on the door, and see if I'm not gonna like push the door, but I think I'm just gonna do like a light knock.
Okay, when you knock, all the voices go quiet for a moment. Nobody answers the door immediately. But then suddenly as you're standing there, there's an eye just peeking out of the ajar door. It's a drow, and it's a man. That much you can make out. And his eyes are red, and one of them is just looking out of the door. It says, "We're closed."
Oh, I'm sorry. I only need a minute. The harbor master sent me over. Just had a couple questions about some cargo. I was just hoping to get a quick description of some packages.
We're closed.
I understand that, but I came all the way over here, and I do just need a minute.
Give me a... I'm going to say this is Compel and Low Society.
If I got one of those.
So that would be 2d10.
Ooh, a 6 and a 3.
All right, so it's a success at a cost. Okay, so you sort of continue to try to work your way in here, even though this gentleman at the door has been saying that they are closed. Yeah, that's definitely in quotes. Tell me how you try to convince him that he should let you in.
I think the route is like the harbor master needs to shore up all of his logs right away, and if you don't tell me now, you're gonna have to go over to the harbor master before the end of the day to tell him yourself. So it's convenient that I'm here now. Saves time later.
And you are still dressed in this like very fancy suit,
Yeah.
power suit look. So
I don't look like a
you
lounge
appear
singer.
more important than the harbor master themselves.
Fine.
Almost like someone who is very important to someone who cares about commerce.
It does seem that way.
Magic.
The eye kind of darts left and right for a moment, and then vanishes from the ajar door. And then the door opens further. You see two drow who are standing in front of the desk, and you see another drow who is sitting behind the desk. It's clear that one of those people that's standing just walked back from the door. And he elbows the other one and says, "This lady has some business here, but I think our work here is done for now. But Rylex, we will be back later." And Rylex looks visibly nervous. These two drow that are standing in front of the desk are both fairly muscular, and they're dressed. They actually appear to be wearing some light like armor, basically leathered armor. And you don't see any visible weapons on them, but they do have a number of suspicious like pouches and bulges in their armor where you suspect there might be weapons. And they just sort of look back to Rylex, look to each other, and they definitely give him one last long, threatening look. And then they walk around Imogene and out into the hallway. The other three of you are standing sort of at the top of the stairs, the landing of the stairs, and they see you there, and you see them, except for Cahosa, who's still focused on. I mean, you see them.
I would have if I felt them coming toward. If I feel like if I felt
you would know when they were going to leave.
That they were, I would like retract all my spider webs and just move slightly to the side of the door, knowing that they come out.
So as they start to emerge from the room, you just drop that spell, and the spider webs just sort of fizzle into sparkling like dust, and then they're gone. And the three of you are just standing on the landing, and these two people emerge from the room, armored, looking tough. And they look to each other real quick, and then they shove by you and go down the stairs.
Torth remembers their faces and writes down their description in his journal.
Do they look like normal thugs, or are there something more?
Give me an investigation plus crime roll.
That's an 8.
Okay, so that's a success without stress. One thing you do notice is that they are wearing, like their leathers are entirely black, and they bear an insignia which you are familiar with, Florentine. You've seen it used by the Black Guard, which are a special detachment of mostly drow, but not entirely drow, guards who guard Amaranth. But you catch that as they shove by you, and they continue down the stairs.
Yeah, when they have left, I will convey to the people that are two by me. Law enforcement.
He does always seem, from my records, he seems to get himself into all sorts of trouble. Perhaps he's gotten over his head.
Likely. I mean, his name was on the documents. That's sloppy work, if something.
And Imogene, as soon as they sort of leave the room, he gets up from his seat behind the desk. He is shaking. He says, I don't know who you are, but I need to get out of here.
I just need a moment. I'm sorry to have interrupted. The harbor master sent me over. I just need you to answer a couple questions about some packages. The logbooks weren't properly reconciled. I just need a couple questions about some packages under your name.
Okay, give me a this would normally be a compel plus commerce, but you also have mastery because of your glamour.
Ooh.
So you basically get an extra D10 from whatever you'd have under a compel plus commerce.
Right, so I would have 2 normally, so I'll have 3. That's not bad. Ooh, 7, an 8, and a 9.
Okay, so that's a success without stress. So at first, he seems extremely nervous and he's shaking and he just wants out of the room, and you sort of stop him and you explain why you're here. And something about you, which, I mean, you know, is the glamour effect that you have. It just makes him stop and relax a little more. He stops shaking. does say, I guess I can give you a few moments.
Oh, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. Yes, the logs from yesterday evening, there were some packages on one of the sky whales, the one unfortunately involved in the incident. We're reconciling the logs, and there are several packages that have your name beside them, but it just says mislabeled. I was just wondering if I can inquire as to the contents of those packages, just for process of the investigation regarding the incident in the sky whale.
Food. It was just food. Exotic food brought from Far New Job. But as he's saying that, I mean, you can read in his voice easily that he said that a little too quickly and a little too nervously.
Right. So all of the food is accounted for. We've spoken to all of the various restaurants and clubs who did supply the party. So what really was in the package, the faster you tell me, the easier it's going to be on both of us.
I don't know. It's just food. I don't know any more than that. Things come through my office all the time. I forward them to where they need to be.
Surely you are a wise and experienced businessman. Clearly you wouldn't just put your name on cargo that you don't know the contents of. That's irresponsible personally and professionally.
All right, look, they paid me a lot of money to take it.
Well, now we're getting somewhere, yes. They being
Alfear. Weird Alfear.
Interesting.
They didn't even wear masks.
Very interesting. All right. They came here. Did you meet them somewhere else?
They sent word that they wanted me to do some business with them. There was a fair amount of money attached, under the pretenses that I don't ask any questions. And, well, I mean, business hasn't been great lately.
These are trying times. Yes, I do understand.
I decided to meet with them. We met at the upper Tintigel station, the Vermisian. There were a few of them. They were all Alfear. None of them were masked. They were actually rather primitive for Alfear.
Interesting. Well,
but very imposing. And the money was good, but also these were people that I really wanted to say no to, if you catch my drift.
Oh, certainly, of course. Self-preservation is key, of course. Is there anything else you could give me? I can follow up this investigation and totally leave you out of the rest of it. If there's anything about their appearance other than they were masked, did they have any insignias or symbols or uniforms that you could identify?
No, I mean, everything about them was very odd from every Alfear I've met. I mean, if anything, they reminded me of the druids up in New Heaven. I mean, they were wearing furs and leathers, and I mean, not fancy at all like the Alfear I know up here.
Yes, that does sound unusual. And you don't know what was in the cargo, you just know that you had to move it.
Right. They instructed me not to check what was in the cargo. That was part of the arrangement. They just wanted me to make sure it got on the Sky Whale. And since I did have a contract for some of the goods on the Sky Whale, it was easy enough for me to add these boxes.
Yes, very advantageous. Well, I thank you for your time. I will continue my investigation elsewhere. I do appreciate your cooperation in this.
Yeah, sure. You wouldn't have any place I could hide out for a while, would you? I mean, those guys, they're going to come looking for me.
Well, I don't, unfortunately. However, I'm sure there are places down Spire one might go to disappear.
Yeah. And he backs away from you. He starts to rummage through his desk and some shelves. He seems to be collecting anything that might be of value. And he's shoving it into a bag.
Well, I'll leave you to your work. And I'm just going to turn and leave.
He doesn't even seem to notice when you say that. He's just busy grabbing anything of value that he owns. And Imogene comes back out into the landing where you guys are.
That went well. Florentine, you said you had dealt with some Alfear rebels.
I haven't dealt with them myself.
No. Do you know anything about them? He says that he was approached by a group of maskless Alfear who paid him to sneak those boxes onto the Skywell. He does not know what was inside them, but he did move them.
So, Florentine, I can give you the basics, or you can make a roll for me.
I'll make a roll because.
All right. So this would be an investigation and religion roll.
I should not have taken the roll. That's a 7.
Okay. So 7, you do take stress.
I'm gonna need to do a refresh soon.
Let's see. Take that much stress. That's good. So basically what you were able to find out, you had done some of this research beforehand, after you had discovered, basically when you were on that mission down in Red Row. Imogene describes these very sort of primitive looking Alfear, massless Alfear, which matches up with what you had learned. There is down in Red Row, there is a group of Alfear who are traditionalists. The Alfear come from the north, the tundra up north. And they've long since modernized and become wealthy and fancy and basically imperialists who take over everything they can. But there are traditionalists among them who still believe in the old ways of the Alfear, which is very much centered around tests of endurance and survival. They would basically be hunters who would move through the tundra, and they would deliberately take very difficult physical trials as a way of proving themselves and gaining influence over their sect that they follow. But you also know that the ones who have taken up refuge in Red Row, there's no tundra for them to explore anymore. They've made their way through the Vermissian. They treat the Vermissian as their own hunting ground of sort. And because of that, they know the Vermissian probably as well as the sages do. And they also, it made sense to you why they would be hired to smuggle things through the Vermissian, which they apparently were.
Oh yeah, that sounds like them. They killed a member of the ministry. That's why they got the explosives. And their description, from what I hear, matches theirs. They are, Red Row traditionalists. They basically hunt throughout the city, and I think, and I look at Torith. I don't know if you have come across them, because they are frequently using the Vermissian.
Torith, you've heard of them, but more from a like legend standpoint. The sages keep their distance as much as they can.
We know of them, but it is easy to avoid in the Vermissian, and the sages in general avoid contact with them.
Florentine, you also know that this group of Alfir are pretty apolitical. They're not rebels, like Imogen sort of hinted that they might be. The fact that they don't wear masks sort of makes them pariahs of Alfir culture in Spire, but they don't really care at all. They do their own thing. They don't care about running Spire. They could care less if the Alfir left Spire. If they had their way, Alfir would return to the north and live their simple lives. Of all the Alfir here in Spire are soft.
Yeah, the big problem is they don't care for politics. So them blowing up the Sky Whale doesn't really make sense.
Someone is using them as a resource.
Yes.
Interesting.
The web gets more tangled.
And since they are, they are outcasts among the Alfir, I think we need to ask ourselves if it's a possibility that whoever is behind them are either Alfir or Drow. It can be both.
Well, that certainly narrows our scope.
Well,
No.
Oh, that was a joke.
Oh, yes. Sorry, my tone doesn't always say that. Yes, it seems we're no further than we were before we have information, and yet we have no direction.
So that's not entirely true.
We know where they live, though.
Yes, Florentine knows that this group of Alfir operate out of a basically. They operate out of an abandoned Vermissian station in Red Row that used to be named Shutter Station, and that they have built a bar on top of it.
So they have an abandoned station, but they have built a bar. So I'm thinking perhaps a drink.
And we're just supposed to walk in and talk to these people?
Well, I was planning to shoot someone of them, but that plan will work.
You don't actually think he's joking when he says that.
You are free to do as you wish, Florentine, as always. However, I am very ill-equipped for any kind of physical confrontation.
We will need to, stake it out first. I mean, if there are many of them, walking in there would be problematic. But I don't even know. Think about it. I'm not entirely sure what the clientele is, but.
Generally, you don't know specifically what this bar's clientele is like, but it's a bar, so there are customers there. But it is in Red Row, which is one of the more gang-ridden, violent districts down Spire.
Yeah.
Totally fine, guys.
Florentine is somewhat familiar with Red Row because that is where the Hellionites are headquartered. It's where the Church of the Gun is. And basically, law is a very flexible term in Red Row. There is Valoran Standard, which is the only guard post in Red Row of the City Guard. And it's pretty much where they send the dregs of the City Guard. Every burnt out, nearing retirement, broken City Guardsman, or anyone who's managed to piss off their superiors gets sent to Valoran Standard.
Oh, so they're really into doing their job down there.
Yeah. And they have a constant uphill battle keeping the peace between the various gangs, of which there are many in Red Row, and also the Hellionites, who are sort of their own unofficial heavily armed vigilante posse, who will roam around with their guns, which nobody can take from them because there just aren't enough guards in Valoran Standard to take the guns to disarm the Hellionites. So there's a very, very uneasy peace between the different armed groups down there.
The bad news.
You do all know that Florentine. I believe you all know that Florentine is a Hellionite because you've probably not been entirely secretive about that among this group.
No.
And therefore probably has some ins with people down there.
The bad news is that it's it's a hellhole. The entire area. There are basically the only law is what you make of it. The good news, though, is I have some associates there, and together we kind of stand out, so we will most possibly perplex people. Which means that they will not, make too much of fuss.
That's some consolation, I suppose. Not much.
I am quite sure you can charm the pants off the people.
Well, thank you for your...
We are most
Florentine
confident.
says that knowing full well that what passes as charm in Red Row is usually intimidating. Whoever looks toughest.
Ooh, not really my game. Surprise.
But on the other hand, if someone comes down there and actually acts charming, that means that they must have some heat behind them. So, I mean, it's just, okay, yeah.
It's true. It might work.
You never know until you try, I suppose.
And
I will have your backs.
Yeah, and I think we're going to stop there, and we will pick up next time with you, probably going down to Red Row, which will be a whole thing.
Before we head down to Red Row, Imogene's going to get rid of the glamour, which involves washing my face and looking in a mirror for 5 minutes, remembering what I look like.
Oh, that's really
Spire
good.
is so good.
That's so good.
Yeah.
You have a hand mirror, or are you like finding a mirror somewhere?
God, I probably want to change before we went down Spire.
Yeah.
I definitely don't just like carry a mirror with me. I probably found a mirror somewhere.
You could stop at the club on your way down.
Yeah. I'll probably If it
and also if
like pop off into my dressing room and just.
Also, if it's we are close to the, since there are Azurites around and stuff like that, perhaps there is some clothes store you can just walk in and just look in the mirror.
That's fair. I need to find my least fancy dress and then look in a mirror for 5 minutes.
Yeah, so we'll end on that image. So what you do is you go to you exit this building where Rylex was, and you find the nearest like clothing shop, which they're not hard to find here in this area. And we just end with Imogene, like a little like clothes shopping montage. You wash off the makeup in the mirror there, and you're just trying on clothes that are deliberately not fancy.
Yeah.
Probably.
Imogene emerges from this clothing shop dressed like a Red Row badass. Which I'll let you think about what exactly that looks like for next time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's probably some like Mad Max Fury Road stuff going on there.
Or whatever Imogene, somebody who hasn't been further down Spire than where the hatchery is in like upwards of God, a very long time. Think Red Row badasses look like.
Yeah, you're not originally from a fancy. You're from Downspire,
Yeah.
but not Red Row.
Yeah. Not that far.
And it has been a little while since you've been down there.
Torth has a book on Red Row. They could describe some colorful people from Red Row.
But it'll probably be like Red Row fashions from 15 years ago. It was in a book.
The alliteration of Red Row makes me think about like it's a picture book for kids.
That would be the most messed up picture book for kids. All right, but yeah, we will pick up there.
Spot Mall.
We will pick up there next time with a little jaunt down to the bad end of town, which should be fun for this group.
Hey, should we do sign-offs or yeah?
Yeah, let's do that.
Start with Jess.
Jess.
Oh, hi there. It's me, your possibly robotic friend. Beep, beep, boop. I don't know if this is even coming through or you can hear me, but if you can, hi.
Yes, we can.
It's me. Well, because you guys are cutting out so bad for me. I'm like catching half of everything.
Oh no.
Oh no.
So I couldn't tell. But anyways, thanks for being here. This is my channel. We play this game every other week, and it is the gosh darn best, and I'm so excited by it. We do other TTRPG content when we can. Lots of fun with that, and play games with friends. Normally on Saturdays I do a WoW stream with Dustin, but we're not doing that today because, as you can see, I'm not at home. So it's not really an option, but we should be returning next week to normal. So thanks for being here. If you don't already, follow this channel so you can watch more of our Spire nonsense, and you can follow me on Twitter at go_JG. And that's it. You're awesome. I heart your faces.
Hey, Jess.
Yeah?
Did you want to mention yet what we were thinking about doing for Thursday?
Oh, yeah! Are we going to do that on Thursday? So, normally on Thursdays I do variety streams, and it switches up. What game I play is different every week. But this week we're thinking of doing something really, really special. Jason and I were going to play Starcrossed on stream. So I know that's a game that, like, a lot of people, there's been a lot of talk about Starcrossed lately, and if for anyone that hasn't seen it yet and wants to get a chance to see it in action, come hang out. It is such a cool game. It is really a really awesome two-person TTRPG, and I highly recommend it.
And we'll be playing the online hack of it, so we can sort of explain that as we're playing too.
Exactly, so we can show, because it's typically played in person with a Jenga tower, but obviously a lot of us all are.
Oh, well.
just froze on that.
Yep.
I like the expression. She's frozen.
Yeah. Oh.
But what Jess was saying is usually it's a Jenga tower, so that's a little bit difficult since we're all far away from each other usually. But we're going to play the online version, and we'll sort of explain to everybody how it works while we're playing.
Yay!
That will be Thursday. It's a great freeze frame. Who's next?
Megan.
Me.
Yep.
So hi everybody. I'm Megan at MeganLynnFTW on Twitter, where I scream about TTRPGs and how much I love my friends, and recently a lot of retweets of pictures of possums. So come for the good content. I will be here every other week playing Spire, and just check out everything else that Jess is doing here, because it's all really good stuff, and I'm very excited to. I'm very scared to go down Spire next time, but we'll figure it out.
And I am Dusty at GeoNerd on Twitter and Twitch, and I stream with Jess, and sometimes I do my own streams. I do Mass Effects on Mondays and WoW on Wednesdays. And yeah, I'm really excited to go deeper into Dangerous Spire Town. This game is awesome, and the more I get a feeling for it, the more I love it.
Nicholas.
Yeah, I'm Nicholas. You can find me at Nyvinter at Twitter, where I talk about RPGs and art and anxiety and pangolins. And tomorrow I will be playing The Promise Tree at Little Cup of Joe's channel.
Oh yay! I love it.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
You guys should check that out. It's a great.
Come for the wholesome content.
Hmm
Gay Panic next tomorrow.
Is that just like the episode title?
Yeah.
Sold.
Perfect.
And I'm Jason. I'm at Chase Levine on Twitter. And yeah, I don't have my own channel, but I'll be doing this every other Saturday roughly.